Hello, my name is Lorie Cousin, and I'm a search angel here at DNAngels. And I have a very important story to tell today. It is for America's 250th anniversary. We are telling stories that were really never written down because not every family story survives long enough to be passed from one generation to the next. This story is called If Our Ancestors Could Speak, Holocaust Families. Some stories are interrupted, some are erased, some are silenced so completely that all that remains is a name, if even that. Tonight, we are holding space for one of those broken lines. And for me, this is not abstract history. It is my family. My paternal ancestors were almost entirely exterminated in the Holocaust. My father grew up with very few aunts or uncles, not because families were small. In fact, they were very large. Those who left Europe looking for opportunity survived, including my grandparents. Everyone who remained in Europe was killed, murdered. My dad had no grandparents, no stories passed down from their voices, no hands to hold him as a child. And I cannot even begin to imagine the pain my grandparents carried, losing almost all of their families, their worlds erased in a matter of just a few years. So much was lost that even shape our family tree was forever changed. If our ancestors could speak, they might begin by reminding us that before the Holocaust, they were not victims. They were families. They were mothers braiding hair, fathers teaching trades, grandparents telling stories at crowded tables, children learning songs, jokes, prayers, and dreams. They had last names, addresses, photographs, side jokes, family jokes. They belonged to one another. They might sound like Anne Frank. Anne is one of the few whose voices survived. She wrote not because she wanted to become famous, but because writing made fear bearable. She wrote about arguments with her mother, about falling in love, about becoming herself. Anne died at 15 in Bergen-Belsen. Her mother, Margot, died there too. Her sister, Margot, died there too. Her mother, Edith, perished as well. Only her father, Otto Frank, survived. And after the war, Otto made a choice. He chose to publish Anne's words so the world would know that behind the statistics were real people, children with voices. But for Anne Frank, there were millions who never had a diary, no words preserved, no photographs saved, no one left to remember their laughter. If our ancestors could speak, they might sound like Eva Moses Kor. Eva was born in Romania. She was a twin. In Auschwitz, being a twin meant something terrifying. Eva and her sister Miriam were separated from their parents the moment they arrived. Their parents and older sisters were murdered that same day. Eva and Miriam were subjected to medical experiments by Joseph Mengele. They survived, but survival came with lifelong scars. Eva once said that the hardest part was not the experiments, it was waking up every day knowing her entire family was gone. No parents to return to, no home to rebuild. If Eva could speak to us now, she might say, survival is not the same as healing. If our ancestors could speak, they might speak for the children of the ghettos. In places like Lod, Warsaw, and Vilna, children learn very quickly how to disappear. They learn not to cry, not to move, not to exist too loudly. Parents hid children in walls, under floors, inside closets. Some parents were forced to choose which child might live. Entire family lines ended there. No descendants, no grandchildren, no one left to speak their names. History records the number. DNA remembers the loss. If our ancestors could speak, they might tell us about the silence that followed liberation, because surviving the camps did not mean returning to life as it had been. Many survivors emerged alone. no parents, no siblings, no proof of who they were before. Some returned to their hometowns only to find strangers living in their homes, or worse, hostility waiting for them. They would rebuild, but they would not speak. They married, they had children, they crossed oceans, and they stayed silent, not because they forgot, but because remembering was unbearable. Silence has a way of becoming inheritance. Children grew up knowing that there were questions they shouldn't ask. Why doesn't grandma talk about her childhood? Why does grandpa panic at loud noises? Why do family trees stop in the 1940s? In fact, looking at my father's family tree, so many of his relatives all died on June 11th, 1944. He didn't really know what the date was that they died, but he chose that day from World War II to add to his tree as their death dates. Many learned to protect their parents by never asking, and so the silence continued. But we were raised to know Zachor. Zachor means remember. And so we were always taught about the Holocaust, as difficult as it was, to remember so that perhaps it would never happen again. Zachor. Today, it's often the grandchildren and great grandchildren who begin to ask questions. They open DNA results and see missing branches, entire surnames gone, entire family lines erased. They discover cousins in other countries who carry the same gaps. They feel grief for people they never met. They mourn grandparents who never had the chance to be grandparents. At DNAngels, we see this grief often. People aren't just searching for relatives, they're searching for context. When records are destroyed, DNA bears witness. It connects survivors, descendants across continents. It confirms family relationships when paper was burned. It restores names to people once reduced to numbers on transport lists. DNA cannot undo genocide, but it can prove that genocide did not succeed in erasing identity completely. Bloodlines endured. The Holocaust did not only steal lives, it stole futures, it stole family stories, it stole the chance for normal inheritance, names, traditions, recipes, memories. It created holes that still echo through families today. Some families carry survivor guilt, others carry grief with no source. Some families don't even know why their history feels incomplete. As America approaches its 250th anniversary, we are being asked to reflect not just on freedom, but on fragility, on what happens when humanity is stripped away and neighbors become enemies, on how quickly families can be erased when hatred is given power. These are not distant lessons, they are warnings. If our ancestors could speak today, they would not ask us to turn away. They would ask us to remember responsibly, to speak carefully but not quietly, to tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable, to honor not just survival but also loss. They would remind us that silence protects no one forever. At DNAngels, we believe that uncovering biological truth is an act of restoration. It is not about reopening wounds. It is about naming them. It is about giving families language for grief they inherited without explanation. It is about ensuring that those who were never meant to be remembered are not forgotten again. Zachor. As America approaches its 250th anniversary, we are telling the stories that were never written down. Stories interrupted by hatred, stories carried silently across generations, stories that remind us what was lost and what endured. Because not every family story survives history intact, but every family story matters. Because your right to know your true biological parentage and your true family history is more important than someone else's secrets. Thank you so much for listening to this today. Again, my name is Lorie Cousin, and I'm a search angel here at DNAngels. And if you or another family member or friend is in search of their biological truth, please reach out to DNA Angels at dnaangels.org. Thank you.